All right. Did you guys have a good Thanksgiving break?
Yeah, it was fun. Did a lot of work, but
I had to
Excellent.
I had to listen to a lot of screaming children.
That's one of the nice things about getting into the grandparent space. You can play with the kids. When they start getting tired, you hand them over to somebody else, and you have absolutely no responsibility, which is ideal.
Yeah, I did like.
This is the volumetric form of line by Emma Comfort.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Yeah, as I said, my computer is acting just a little bit funny,
It's angry
and
at you.
so I think it's just feeling a little unappreciated. Okay, there we
That's how my
go.
computer acts sometimes.
All right. What I wanted to do today is I've been grading. Notice that right before Thanksgiving, I graded everything. Um, and I am going through, I don't know if we're going to be able to have time to go through all of the PowerPoint presentations. So I'm kind of hoping that if you guys have any questions, we can talk about that as before we go into that. Did want to share a couple of observations I've been having. And before we do all that, did anybody get sick over Thanksgiving?
No,
no, for once.
but maybe the children,
Ah,
considering of how much sugar they consumed.
Yeah, with her family, we went up to North Utah and spent a couple days with them. Cooked a turkey. We were wondering why the turkey was so dry because we do self-basting with like bacon strips over the top of the turkey.
That sounds good.
And as we were cutting it, it dawned on us that we had been so excited we put it in the oven upside down. So thankfully it was fully cooked, but yeah, it was, it's one of those things where you think, well, this doesn't fit my memory of how this worked before. And we were
Like
so
my
confident we didn't bother looking at any photos or anything. We just did it. And then her son made gravy and he thickens it with dried potato flakes. And
huh.
that was really interesting. I mean, it turned
Huh.
out very good. And then we came down a little bit and spent a couple days with my kids. That was an awful lot of fun. My kids are really odd, as you know. I know that might surprise you, but one of my daughters thought it would be great fun for everybody to do make PowerPoint presentations. And so one of the PowerPoint presentations was about the 3 reasons why the Lord of the Rings movie cycle is the best cinematic universe in the history of the world.
Oh.
And reason 1
Mm.
was a link to the first movie. Reason 2 was a link to the second movie. And reason 3 was a link to the third movie. I know that was pretty funny. And then
That's
another one did cultural and pop references in Shrek 2. And she used a glacier diagram so that the top part was things that are readily recognizable to everybody. And then as she moved down through the different types of references, they were getting more and more obscure. And it was, like the second level was ones that you had to watch the movie twice in order to get. The third level was you had to watch the movie several times. And the fourth level was you had to know somebody who was on the movie staff so you could get the references. And then my favorite one was done by a friend of theirs who shared with all of us that it's only paranoia if it isn't real. And the clear and present danger is Portuguese are making satanic pacts with world leaders and gradually taking over everything.
hey.
So that was great.
That sounds like an entertaining PowerPoint night.
That's a
Yeah, it
bit
was a lot of
weird.
fun. And then of course mine was an exploration of the architecture of Prince Humperdinck's castle and the Princess Bride, and where it was located in the real world, and what architectural style it was actually based on. So, truly riveting and very much a surprise for somebody
Oh, yes.
like me to use that.
Yes.
Legitness.
Yeah, it was. And for
So the-
anybody who is concerned and wants to know, Prince Humperdinck's castle was actually filmed at Haydon Hall in England, and the crenellations and battlements are a dead giveaway. It was heavily inspired by Crusader era architecture. And can you guess when Haydon Hall was built?
I feel like I know the answer to that, but it's not coming to mind.
During the First
1650.
Crusade. So, but yeah, it was riveting to all concerned. Just the fact that they didn't scream and throw me out of the house, I think, was a win for me.
They were such in awe of your presentation that they forgot to do that.
Yeah, so that's great. That's what we'll stick
And to the
with.
and applauded to the Portuguese one because I'm half Brazilian.
Oh no, it's the Portuguese. It's instead of the garden gnomes, it's the little
Oh,
plastic
yeah.
geese
Oh.
that people get outfits for.
I want a Portuguese.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Not
thought it meant
Portuguese.
like I thought it meant the language.
Portugal is one of only two countries in Europe that were actually formed by papal edict, as opposed to regular political channels.
Oh.
Portugal was formed by the Pope just declaring that it was a country, and then of course the other one is Vatican City, which is not really the best name for it because it's actually one of the very few city-states in the world. Can anybody guess where the only other city-state is in Europe?
No, I don't know.
Anybody?
I was able to in my high school days, but I don't remember now.
It's Liechtenstein.
Why does that sound
Oh,
familiar?
interesting.
Yeah, it's really, really tiny. And so both Liechtenstein and the Vatican City are, I think, the only extant city-state still in Europe.
Huh.
Anyway, going on to the actual lesson today, I have been really impressed with people getting things turned in. This last week, a lot of people turned in the artist research. Most people did. And when I go through grading, I will be making sure that everybody gets, if they turn it in before midnight, right before Thanksgiving, they'll get the extra credit. And I wanted to show you guys, I wanted to share the critiques that people had made. And then I'm wondering, okay, what I'm thinking instead is, instead of showing the critiques that people made, why don't we start with the reports and just start going through the reports that people did, so that you guys can see, so we can share them in because typically when I do this as a live class, these will share everything. And I'm thinking that the priority should probably be the artist research things that people have done. So if that's all right with you, that's what I'll start sharing.
All right. Is there
That
a
sound all right?
specific amount of time you want to spend on it?
Well, let's see. Let's
We
do
should
it
look
for
out for?
about, let's do the first 5 and see where that puts us. But I want to spend about 45 minutes at least on it.
Okay.
I think that'll be good. Okay. So the first one, I will share the tab with, or I will share it with you guys so you can actually see it, because I think that'll be better than if you just hear it. Give me just a short half an hour here. Well, before we do that, there are some things. If you don't get the full points for something, what do you need to do?
Redo it and turn it in again.
All right. And how do you know what to do when you redo it?
You'll comment, let us know what can be improved on.
Yes, excellent. That is perfect. And I am making it a priority to, as soon as I see those, I regrade them just as soon as I can. I wasn't able, I did a lot of this up to the weekend last week, and then I wasn't able to do anything Monday and yesterday grading wise, but then all day today, I've been working on that too. So, and I think, and Mitch sent me an incredibly nasty email reminding me that he had resubmitted and I had totally ignored it. That's not true. Mitch was very polite. But if I don't respond within a day or two, it doesn't hurt to email me. And I try to get to that as soon as possible. Now, I did have one student, they actually texted me on my phone because they had emailed me and hadn't heard anything back. And I'm glad they texted me because they had actually emailed the wrong email or somehow it got routed to the wrong email and I never saw it. So they resent it through Canvas, and I was able to take care of that. So everything that I have right now, I will try to make sure that the grades are up to snuff, like by tomorrow. And I will just do my best to stay on top of that. We do have a couple success stories where people were not able to turn things in earlier on in the semester. And they have been turning in things just as, as quickly as they realize, holy crap, that was something I forgot to turn in. They've been turning them in and their grade has been getting better pretty much by the hour. So that's pretty cool to see. So again, if you need to resubmit, please resubmit. There's no reason not to get perfect scores on the quizzes and the assignments because I do allow resubmissions. All right, are you guys ready for this first one? Is that a yes or a no?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, this first one is on Louise Bourgeois.
This is Louise Bourgeois. A little bit about her life. Her parents ran a tapestry business. She was born, and she was treated very poorly.
Did my thing just freeze?
Thanks for saying something. I thought I was frozen, but just on my end.
I was like,
Yeah.
wait, did my computer break?
I
Yeah,
turned
off
mine
my
was
video 'cause it
disconnected, so I
saves
went out and
RAM.
back in.
So yeah, I thought it was just my system.
I'm wondering what happened to Mr. Kurosuk.
Maybe he will rejoin That's usually what I do.
Hopefully.
Yep. So, how are your guys' assignments going?
I'm trying to work on a final portfolio for my 1150 class.
Fun.
Nice.
So I'm going over my old like photography work, and it's like nostalgic because I had gone to like one of these like old ruins like of like for like Mesopotamia people, I believe. I don't know if it was that far. Yeah, Mesopotamia. And it's just nostalgia, and then I'm like finding old pictures from like 2022 or 2020. Like,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
I
So I'm
also have
debating.
a photography final portfolio that I'm working on, but I've
Which
never
class are
done
you in?
photography before, so 1175, I think is what
Ah, dang it.
just intro photography. I'm not a photo major, so it's just kind of
Yeah.
A
I'm
But
in
hobby.
it's very
digital
cool.
imaging, so
Yes, that one. That's the one it's called. That's right.
I ain't that talented. I'm more like taking photos and then I edit them, but I don't do digital imaging. Like
How do you edit
Photoshop.
them?
Mainly I used to use like Lightroom and Lightroom Classic.
Well, that's all this class really is. He only has us
yeah.
use Lightroom Classic, so
Yeah, but I'm doing this on my Surface. The original time, the way I used to edit my photos before was on like a big old, like old style like computer, like with a monitor, a keyboard, mouse, and a computer tower.
ooh.
Yeah, that kind of setup. I had that, and I had all of my storage on it. This
Wow.
laptop doesn't. So I was like, where is my crap?
Oh. I need to do the photography final, and I need to do my graphic design final.
Yeah.
And then the
Is
two
that the
assignments that were
InDesign?
due on yeah.
Same.
Oh,
But yeah, you know the two assignments that were due on Monday?
Was that the Voltron final?
Yeah, the Voltron one
Oh, that
and
one I'm doing right now.
the surface learning. Yeah, I'm not done with either of those. Like I had a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
I had an epoxy snafu. Like it's holding together pretty well, but it's sticky still.
I'm just going to use gouache. I don't want to use epoxy. That sounds like
Yeah,
too
I'm gonna
much.
hot glue the rest of this. Because again, it's still sticky and I still have like gaps in it.
Oh, man.
ouch.
Challenge.
Yep.
I
That's
definitely
for
was a challenge
surface
when I did
learning.
it. Oh, I did the artist research. That's
But
exactly why I did that.
I can do a 1-page, 2-page report. I can
Yeah.
knock that out pretty fast. So I tried to just get that one done immediately. It's
Yeah.
doing these projects that takes all my
I'm
time.
starting to think I should have done that because this is ridiculous.
The artist
I've
research.
spent
Yeah, the
so
artist
long.
research is it's pretty easy for the artist research
Yeah.
because I'm artistic, but not like very like building things. I'm like I have this like image in my head. I want to build this, and then it's just a sack of crap afterwards.
That's how
So I'm
this is
like,
going.
yeah, so I'll just stick to the artistic research. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's photography related, like taking a picture, I can do that very well.
Yeah.
I have
I've been
like a
pretty.
Flickr
Teach
account.
me.
You can go to my Flickr account. That's where I post most of
Oh.
my other like photos from like my other class. Like one of them,
Yeah.
I named Starry Night.
Oh, fun.
You guys want to see a cool picture?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
And my Flickr account is just N Sutton Art 1050. I think that's what it would be.
Let's see.
Yeah, you can go on there and just check out my
There it is.
photos.
Sweet.
Like
These
some
are
of them
my
was like from my.
sisters.
What do you do to do that?
This I had it set on like a long exposure, so this was like a 10-second
okay.
exposure, I think.
And you
Yeah.
also
So I had,
faded
And she
him out.
didn't move?
oh yeah, so I had Becca hold still, and then I had Holly move halfway through it, and that's what makes her look like a ghost.
Oh,
Cool. Was that your
I
fear
thought
assignment?
Yeah, that was our
you could have
movement was
also,
down, I think.
in another way, you could have also like took the picture and went to Photoshop, select one of the people, and like change the opacity so you can like see through them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I like
this
how
was
you
a
did
good
easier.
one.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the
I
easy
like the
part.
shutter speed effect. That
Yeah,
makes
and
it
it is
pretty
that
fun.
is a really cool effect that a camera can do. That if there's a object moving fast enough, it'll create an after image, is what I call it.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
pretty
And it'll,
cool.
Sick.
but if you capture something at a 90-degree angle, like a car moving at the right moment, you will get the car mid-movement or right as it's on the road moving.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I learned that from my other class with Mark Monson, I think the teacher's name was.
Mark or Tyson?
Oh, I think it was actually Tyson. I
Because
still have his.
that's my digital imaging teacher.
Oh, wait, let me go back to my other like activities and see if I can find out.
Tyson. I have
Tyson Monson.
Kevin
That's what his name
Schley.
was.
There's only 2 teachers that do that class, right?
Yeah. So
No clue.
my old photography teacher was Tyson Monson.
Tyson Monson.
Do you have
Yep.
him as your digital?
Uh-huh.
Give him tell him I said hi,
Alrighty.
and tell him it's from Nick, because otherwise he won't know who the heck you're talking about.
Give him a high five. He'll know what it means.
Because he
Also,
was
how
my.
is this meeting getting recorded? He's not even in it anymore.
I don't know.
I don't know. But whoever watches this is gonna have a hell of a time watching our video.
I know. We should.
Because Tyler Monson was my favorite teacher, my favorite photography teacher.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
He
he's
was just
pretty
a chill
fun.
and cool dude. I had taken one of my photos that I had posted on Flickr from his own in-person studio. Welcome
There he
back,
is.
Mr. Kosarok.
Hey!
Hey, all right, I'm sorry about that. How much did I miss?
How much
Maybe
did we
15
miss?
We
minutes.
mostly just, yeah.
Okay, it
talked
looks
about
like we're
our
still
side.
recording, so that's good. I'm really sorry about that. I don't know how to edit that out, so I guess everybody gets a little bit of a nap. But for
Yeah,
whatever
or
reason, the computer just froze in the program, but from my perspective, everything looked like it was going on great. And then all of a sudden it stopped and it was no longer going along great.
yeah, we were
Needless
just
to
like
say.
talking about our old classes. Like one of them, she has the teacher I had last semester with Tyler Monson, and I was just like talking about it. And some of the photos I posted on a Flickr account I have. So yeah, we were just
Well,
like chatting.
I'm glad you guys stuck with it because otherwise it would just be recording a whole bunch of me just talking.
Nothingness. And whoever watches this after it cuts out, it's just gonna have like a bash full of laughter as of us just like chatting.
Well, good. Hey, Mitch, you're here with us. Did I answer your question that you emailed me, or was that an earlier thing?
So what I emailed you about 5 seconds, or not 5 seconds ago, might be exaggerating. It was about 20 minutes ago I emailed you about discussion 1. I'd forgotten to comment, and so I was just trying to see if I could get some more points on that after commenting on other people's posts.
Okay, that is really good. One thing that I've noticed, and this is really important, Mitch, I'm glad you said something because even though I have all the notifications set up, so I'm supposed to be told, for whatever reason, when it comes to discussions, that is the only notification category that Canvas does not tell me about. So when you post, you know, if you got half points for a discussion because you did one part but not the other, do exactly what Mitch did, which is email me after posting because there's otherwise there's no way that I know. So Mitch, I will take care of that tonight. Thank you very much. But that's a good point for everybody to know. If anybody is missing points on the discussion, after you post the part that you need to, email me and let me know so I can go back and add to your points. All right.
Sounds
Hi,
great.
Emily. Emily, are you working tonight? Okay, I wonder if she is and can only hear. Okay, Mitch, but does that help, Mitch?
Yeah, that does help. All
She
right,
says
so
yes, she
so
is
you
working.
All right, so Emily is working tonight. Okay. Mitch, please double check about like tomorrow to make sure that I've gotten that taken care of. And if you don't see it, then if you don't mind emailing me again, I will do what I can to take care of it tonight. Okay?
no worries. I submitted everything so late. I've just been kind of double checking my grades constantly.
Okay.
So I will let you know if there's any problems.
Well, I will tell you, I've had a couple students over the years that, and this has been incredibly helpful and absolutely wonderful. And of course, I'm being very sarcastic. When I will have occasionally students that will completely ignore, they will never show up for meetings. They won't watch any of the videos. You'll notice that each of the modules, you're supposed to go through everything in sequence until you get to the assignment. Because, and I had to do this because of this kind of student, they would go directly to the assignment, ignore everything else, and then get really mad that they had lost points because they hadn't followed the directions. Well, the assignments come at the end of a module for a reason, so you have everything else to inform what you're doing. And I just think it's really funny, and you all have had people like this in your class, where the person doesn't do anything to participate, and then they get mad when you don't stop everything and cater to everything, their immediate needs. And I do not have a problem. I know that people have lives. That's why you guys took an online class. I don't have a problem with people watching the things and everything like that, and doing it on their own pace. That's why, you let me know what's going on, and I don't dock points for late turn-ins or anything like that. But what does get me is when somebody all of a sudden decides in the middle of a semester that now they care, and they try to hold you accountable to a higher level than they've held themselves. And that's the kind of thing that kind of annoys me. Like everybody, it doesn't bother me when, and I'm grateful when I see several assignments turned in all at once. That's great. And then somebody will ask, well, can I get some clarification on this? That's great. But it's the presumptive attitude that gets me. And it's almost always the students that are completely uninterested in communicating at all until it becomes something that's in their way. And it's one thing when life happens and you do things as you can. I've had several students in this class do like 6 or 7 assignments over a weekend because they're trying to get caught up, and I really appreciate that. It's just that attitude that rankles my gizzard. So and you guys know exactly the kind of people that I'm talking about. Thankfully, folks at UVU, for the most, it's been my experience that people at UVU are disproportionately nice, and it's really kind of irritating when you don't expect it.
I'm so sorry, I'm nice.
Oopsie.
Well, don't do it again.
Sorry. I don't know
Now,
if that's
I think
physically or mentally possible.
I think that one of the things that froze the system was the last video I turned on was on Louise Bourgeois, and it was really a high memory video, and I think my computer just didn't want to deal with it. So what I would recommend is when you are looking at the videos to turn them in, if you haven't turned them in already, you can get free compressor programs. Just do a search on Google for memory compression or something like for an MOV file or something like that, and you can find for free little programs that will take your file and compress it down so that it doesn't turn it into a zip file, but it will turn like 480 megabyte video file down to 24 megabyte video file, which is a lot easier for everybody to open. So, and I wonder if that was the situation or not. I don't know. But this next one is on Isaac Cordall. He is one of my favorite artists. I really like his stuff. And one of the reasons why I like him is, you get characters like Elton John that are way more than a normal person. And you get Isaac Cordall, whose work is very understated, and that understatement becomes really powerful. And I'm not saying that one is better than the other. It's really refreshing to find an artist that has not turned himself into a celebrity as well, that his art is expressed through what he does, as opposed to how exciting his costumes are. Now, of course, if anybody has not listened to Elton John or watched him in concert or anything like that, you have no idea what you're missing. But I just really appreciate Isaac Cordell's understatedness. All right, so are you guys ready?
Let's go.
Let's do
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
For my artist presentation, I picked Isaac Cordall. I know it's not a biography, but some brief history about him. He was born in 1974 in Pontevedra, Galicia, Spain. He studied at the University of Fine Arts, Pontevedra. He studied 5 more years at the School of Concierros, Pontevedra, a school dedicated to the conservation of stone crafts. And then he finished training at Camberwell College of Arts in London. So it's taken a long time, not schooling, to get to where he is now. That's something that we can focus on. Next, a lot of his work was relatable to our work in this class, specifically by size and texture. His work reminded me of our first assignment when we made the homes and took pictures of it at different locations. It's really everything that he does. He likes to use small and inconspicuous figures made of concrete to place them in various locations to cause interest. The texture is used by his surroundings, whether it be stone, whether it be cement as well, trees, buildings. All of that has been used to enhance his art. With that, he says, it's a work that goes unnoticed. You have to pay attention to it. Isn't a monument in the middle of the square. It's a bit more complex than other works in a larger format. So he likes working with smaller scale things. This one was a sculpture done in Sweden, and it's kind of his focal point. He wants his viewers to look up, to look past kind of the mundane, to look past their everyday lives, like his quote. You have to look harder, you have to focus in on the small details, and that's what he wants us to do. He wants us to look past our phones, look past kind of the technology that's so eye-catching, and look past that to something more. Some of his art here, the one in the top left was titled Friend Request, that you can submit a friend request but still feel sad. The top right of someone taking a picture, kind of not realizing where they are in the grand scheme of things, whether they be trampling, a path or nature, things like that, just getting in wherever he can to take the shot. He was considered an artist of the Anthropocene. It's a type of green art that focuses on the interrelated environmental and social damage caused by Western models of progress. So that's another thing that he likes to focus on, kind of the meaning behind his small figures. Even though they are small, they can be world altering. Just as us as people, we may seem small and insignificant, but we can cause a lot of damage to the world around us, and that's kind of what he focuses on. Another one, just kind of our slavery to money, towards technology, towards our things. And again, he wants us to look past that. There's more scenes of that. Leaders, being leaders and blind followers. the one in the bottom right, how they're all being swallowed up by this puddle, not really realizing what's going on really, but just following the leader and staying there, arguing, businessmen, being in control. The bottom left is one waiting for global warming. So not really doing anything, but knowing it's happening because of what they're doing, and he's prepared for it. Small art that gives a greater meaning. So I'm with Isaac. We need to be like him and focus on what matters most. Look up from our phones, our devices, and realize that there's a bigger picture going on. We can use our art, the things that we've learned in our class this semester, and use that to really evoke emotion and change, the way we see things. And so that's Isaac and his work.
All right, excellent. Very nice. Now, that I like that for a number of different reasons. And one of the things that I really like is he was able to talk about the artwork and then make it feel personal too because of his observations. And it wasn't that he was reading something into Isaac Cordell's work. It was his choice of statements that the artist made about their own work. And I thought that was really good. It's have any of you guys been to Grand Canyon?
I have.
All right. Well, I noticed, I've been there a few times, and I noticed something that came back to mind when my wife and some of our friends hiked rim to rim a few months ago. And I was the guy, I was the designated guy to pick them up when they made it on the other side. Well, that sounds really boring, so I reframed it, and I told everybody I was the rescue driver. And so my whole job was to drive around the Grand Canyon and pick them up on the far side. But as we were driving home, we kept pulling over and getting out of the car and just looking at the incredible landscape. It is astonishingly, wildly beautiful. And when we were coming home, it was early enough in the morning that most of the cloud cover sat within the canyon right underneath the rim. And it was surreal. It was so incredible. And then I noticed that there were a lot of tourists. And there was a group of, one trip that I went there were a group of Germans. As I was standing looking out over the Grand Canyon, this car pulled up, and all these teenage and young 20-somethings got out of this car, and they were smoking, and they were walking up and down with their heads down like this, just like Isaac Cordell's figures, walking along and smoking and looking at their phones. Then they'd stop. They took a picture behind them of the Grand Canyon, and then looked down and smoked and stuff, walked around a bit, and got back in their car. And then I remember seeing another group, same kind of thing, where two or three cars pulled up. Parents got out with their kids, yelled at their kids to stop clowning around because somebody was going to get hurt, walked around, looked out briefly, and then got back in their car and drove off. I'm thinking, you're completely missing everything. And it was just, I don't know, it was, of course we could say, oh, we caught them in a bad day, but I've seen over and over again people paying attention to each other, looking at their phones, and then getting out a selfie stick and taking a brief, 1 second snapshot of the Grand Canyon behind them. And the only experience of they have this world altering view is that the memory that they have taken the snapshot, if they even remember it. No memory of the actual thing. And I really appreciate what this person did with their Isaac Cordell presentation. That's one of the reasons why I appreciate Isaac Cordell's work. One of the things I did that was, I don't know, as you can imagine, I have a bit of a sense of humor when we go on trips as a family. We were at a beach in Washington State, and the weather was incredible. There was this huge plain of fresh, wet sand that was completely smooth. It looked like standing on a mirror. So the kids went out and stood on it ankle deep, and then the waves came up, washed all their footprints away, so it looked like they were sinking into the sand. And I took a picture like that, and then I had them completely ignore each other and pull out their cell phones and took a picture of that. And that's the one that they sent their grandma, and she was so angry at them. I thought we did it as a joke, you know. I thought that was fun. And so when we go on trips as a family, the joke is to take pictures when we're completely oblivious to our surroundings. All right, now this next one is on Federico Uribe. So let's see. Let me open this. All right. Is everybody seeing and hearing these?
I heard the last one. Yeah.
Okay, and you can see it as well?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, excellent.
We'll look into the work of Federico Uribe. Federico started his art journey at the University of Los Andes, which is in Colombia, which is his home country. After that, he went to New York City to get his MFA, and he also studied in other countries to further his art knowledge. Currently, he lives in Miami, Florida, where he has a studio and works from that studio. His work is increasingly sought after all over the world, not just in Miami, where he's living now, or Colombia, but I believe that because he went to school in many different countries, that definitely helped him to find some common ground with people and just spread his art to more people. He has had solo exhibitions, collective exhibitions, awards, lectures, and publications all over the world, which is a huge positive for an artist. He explained his art as not really being stuck in one specific time or one specific genre necessarily. He primarily does it to make himself happy and to make other people happy, which I believe you can really see in his work. He also has a big focus on recycling and keeping the environment happy through that. He's also said that when he's starting a project, he has a rough idea of what he wants to do, but it's not super strict. He lets himself kind of flow with his ideas and create things that weren't exactly what he was originally planning, which is a very interesting and I think effective way to making art and creativity. Really likes to use materials that aren't normally used or seen as art materials, and especially ones that have a negative or a painful or an ugly connotation to them. He likes turning those into something that's beautiful and positive and kind of turn what you think of them, turn that around in your mind. So on this left side, it's a sculpture made of syringes and bandages, which both connotate hurt and pain, as the title of this PowerPoint slide is. And then on the right, the panda bear is made of bullet shells, which is definitely a painful subject and not something you normally think along the lines of art and beauty and enjoyment, as you can enjoy looking at this sculpture. This next slide is unusual. It kind of goes with the painful and ugly materials. He just enjoys finding different things, and I would say he's not a very normal artist, doesn't use super normal materials. And so this sculpture you can see is made up of nail clippers and fake red nails, which is super interesting. I love how these materials in real life work together and they have that connection. And then in the sculpture, the colors of them are so contrasting and they're just used in such a different way than they normally would be. This next slide, these pictures or the sculpture is from a collection called Once Upon a Time. And as I said before, he likes to use recycled materials and kind of he's very conscious of the world around him. And so he had a quote where he said, most people tear down trees to make books, but he deconstructs books to make trees, which I thought was a really good quote. And this is one of the sculptures he was referring to in that quote. You can see I zoomed in on the top parts because those are full books, excuse me. And that makes the tree leaves. So I thought this was a very beautiful example of what he likes to do and how he expresses the importance of nature through his art. This next artwork is one of my favorites of his. It's called Plastic Reef. And again, the kind of overarching theme of it is recycling and the planet and taking care of the planet. He said that he first came up with this idea over 30 years ago when he first was really hearing about the ocean pollution. And then he finally just got that extra push, I guess, to move forward with it. And he started collecting plastics and just other things that obviously aren't good for the ocean and for our planet. And that's when he created this gorgeous piece. And this is just a little piece of it. It's actually a full exhibit type thing. It's like 3 walls and everything, and it's quite amazing. And I really think it's a good way to bring awareness to what is happening with ocean pollution, and it's awareness in a way that I feel like isn't too much just pushing it down your throat. Lastly, I want to talk about his versatility. The title of this is Fashion Designer because both of these suits he's wearing, he made, and he made them to go to his exhibits and his art shows and kind of him be part of the art that he makes, which I love, just adding another element that some artists might not think about or want to do. And I really especially love this because, like I said, of his versatility. And personally, as an artist, I would love to strive to do this, to not hold myself back to just one aspect of art, but to be able to go into many different art medias. And in this, he's not only a sculptor and a fashion designer, but he also makes furniture and bedding and tablecloths. And it's just very inspiring and is an inspiration to me. And then
All right, excellent. Another really good one. It's interesting to me that the Isaac Cordell talks about waiting for global warming, and Federico Uribe talks about just the plastic waste in oceans. And there's some really interesting things going on. If global warming was as dramatic as a lot of the people that want to incite panic would have people believe, then like most of California would already be underwater. What is actually happening is a lot scarier. And this is what I'm saying is not going to be political or anything like that. It's just observation, and you can double check this in a lot of different places. But because it's difficult to follow along, it doesn't make for a friendly soundbite that somebody running for office can use. What's happening is, yeah, you'll see warm water forcing glaciers to calve and shrink. What you don't see is on the other side of that area, the glaciers are rebuilding. And that's why the water levels around the world haven't risen 50 feet. But what's fascinating about that is one side of Antarctica is losing a lot of its ice, but the other side is gaining a lot of ice, huge volumes of it. What that is doing is changing the temperature of these globe-spanning currents that help humans to live where they're living. Something else that is really, really scary to me, and I don't know where you stand on it, but both New York and Tokyo dump thousands of cubic meters of garbage into the ocean off their shores every single day. Huge volumes of garbage. What happens when you throw rocks into a bathtub? What's the first thing that happens?
The water level rises.
Yeah, well, the water level changes too. Yeah, you get all this dynamic energy being released into the water, and even if the water level stays the same, if you drain off the water shifts. And so with this change in where the ice is, and with this change of the metric tonnage of garbage off the shores of Tokyo and New York is so great that it is both of those things together are forcing ocean currents to change. What is interesting about this, and it startled me when I discovered the connection, over the last 40 years, shark attacks on swimmers in California have more than quintupled. There's a large volume of shark attacks off swimmers off of California. And the reason for that is because the seals that the sharks pursue and eat have have shifted their traditional grounds, for resting, mating, and eating closer into the shore. And since that's what sharks eat, they're closer into the shore. They confuse humans with the seals. Well, can you guess why those patterns have changed over the last 40 years? All that garbage being dumped into the ocean off of Japan. And the ice shifting in Antarctica has forced a change in the currents. Do you know why people can survive and live in Northern Europe? Because of the warm water in the North Atlantic current keep extending the growing cycle enough that people in the Scandinavian countries actually can provide food for themselves. And it's warm, it's not very warm, but it is warm enough for people to live. If that happened in Tokyo on the other side of the Pacific Ocean and has affected sharks in towards the coast of California, imagine what's happening with the garbage being dumped into the ocean off of the state of New York, and what's going to happen to the North Atlantic current. So, and I'm not saying all this to scare anybody or anything like that, but that's something that I really appreciate about these two artists. They're not explaining that to anybody. They're not laying out current charts or anything like that and saying this is why you need to recycle as much as possible. Instead, they are bringing attention to it with humor. They're not trying to scare anybody. They're doing something that you find kind of humorous, then you think about it and you think, well, wait a sec. And they force you to pay attention. And when people come to the situation themselves, it is so much easier for them to address the situation practically and come up with solutions than if somebody started waving their hand and throwing books at them or pointing at them or screaming at them. Would you find that's true? And most of the time, you're more likely to listen to somebody who isn't being a jerk.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Powerful approach.
and I think that's one of the reasons why I love their work. And sorry for pontificating a little bit, but I think that is absolutely fascinating. What is profoundly hilarious to me is politics. People that have a living in politics are more interested in getting people to listen to their screaming voice rather than to listen to their message. And people like Isaac Cordell and Federico, because their voice is so soft, they draw you in, and it's a lot easier for them to communicate with people because they're not screaming at them. And I think that's a good message for art just in general, to be honest. Okay, now I don't know what this next one is because it's not in the file label. So we shall see. Oh, it's Mark Dion. Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Today, we're going to be taking a look into
Let's
Mark
do it.
Dion and some of his
I'm just
work.
waiting until mine comes.
So the first thing,
Can you guys hear this at all? I stopped it,
I
but
can, but that's a little faint.
Yeah, sounds a little far away or something.
Yeah.
okay, I'm turning up the volume.
to look at when studying really any artist is what motivates.
Is that better?
Just a little bit, maybe.
Okay.
I can
Give me
hear it
just a
all right,
second.
though, I think, on my end.
Okay, we're trying again.
Their art. What were some of their interests? For Dion, there were three major ones. First, he wanted to show how we as humans display nature outside of its natural environment. Second, he was interested by how we collect objects, whether it's natural, unnatural, we collect things. Third, he was interested to show how man-made objects can interact with the natural objects in that sense. So the work in the bottom right is an example of this. There's a large bird cage that actually had live birds flying around in it. If you look at the bottom and on the branches, there are books all over the place. These books are all related to birds or bird watching in some way. It's interesting how the books themselves are a way of collecting the birds. Drawings of them or statistics about what they are and what they do are a way of owning birds without ever actually interacting with the animal. They're man-made objects put into a man-made recreation of a natural environment, with the natural items themselves being birds also present. One of the most important art forms Dion makes are his cabinets. They challenge the role that institutions like museums can play in how the world is displayed. Nature, history, and culture are all controlled by the institutions that display it. Dion is able to open people's eyes to the way that information can be manipulated in this way. I think this is a very interesting way to go about bringing information to people. These cabinets were based on Wonder Cameron from the 16th and 17th centuries. So this next slide is an example of one of those Wonder Camerons, which means Cabinet of Curiosity. As we look at some more of Dion's work, take note of the inspiration that he derives from these cabinets and the way they display works of art and other curiosities. So this is another example of one of the cabinets that Dion made. Notice the variety in works that are displayed. Every shelf seems to have a different theme and just a huge variety of objects on display. However, they're still united by the fact that they are put onto this cabinet by putting them all in the same place and giving them a similar composition throughout. He unifies them all together and gives them a place to be. So Dion has a unique relationship when it comes to museums. He has labeled them as time capsules and has said that he agrees with their mission of preserving and displaying information, but he's critical of the influence and bias that they can have on viewers. In this instance, Dion was exploring how polar bears can be seen as either a fearsome predator or as a cute victim of global warming. The way that the animals displayed can completely change the way that people feel about them. If you display a polar bear and it's just eating a seal, it's going to be seen as fearsome. But if you take it and you show it on a melting glacier, people will feel sympathy. The way that things are displayed can completely alter how people perceive them. And that was a big thing that Dion wanted to show and explore. But not all of Dion's works were these sculptures or Wunderkinder, especially at the beginning of his artistic career. He was a printmaker, and he also used colored pencils. He explored many different mediums. Something interesting that I noticed is how often in this side of his artworks, he uses a red and blue color scheme. This artwork has a similar theme to his future works, being that of collecting. So this was a print, it was in an edition of 30. And these are some of his colored pencil works. Notice how they keep the red and blue color scheme that was just in the print, as well as the box and the labeling. All of it is a very similar style that he had, even though they were years apart. You can see the eagle was made in 2019, whereas the vivarium was from 2002. It's a very notable style that he's maintained over the years. So his first major exhibit was called the Tate Thames Dig. This is when he and a group of volunteers went outside and combed the beaches for anything that they could display. They found a huge variety of items, including toys, pipes, and dishes. Each item was then cleaned, cataloged, and displayed as if it were an official archaeological dig. You can see in the shelves how they're still categorized by similar items, much like the cabinets we saw earlier. On to some of his awards. Dion has received numerous awards, starting at a Bachelor's of Fine Arts and an honorary doctorate, and then some more prestigious ones, such as the 2001 Larry Aldridge Foundation Award, the Joan Mitchell Foundation Award in 2007, and the Smithsonian American Art Museum's Lucinda Award in 2008.
Right, I think that's another excellent one. So I'm going to turn the volume down just a bit. Have you guys ever heard of a writer named Ibn Khaldun? IBN, which means son of, Khaldun is Khaldun. I believe he was a 14th century Muslim thinker, and he is the father of contemporary museology and father of a lot of the soft social sciences. One of the things that he said was, the moment you take an object to display it, you remove it from its context and you change its meaning. It becomes a different object. So you can see he's also one of the fathers of contemporary phenomenology. Would you agree with that? Does the object become something new when you take it out of context and display it like that?
Yeah, I agree, because it's the same thing with photography.
Yeah, it's very different. It's on one level you could say, oh no, it's the same thing. Physically, it might be the same thing. But the fact that you have chosen to turn it into something resembling a commodity to be viewed, as opposed to an item to be used, it fundamentally changes what the thing is for, and it changes our relationship to it. And I really appreciate that student talking about Dion like that, because it seems that he really understands what Dion is doing too. Have you guys been on Netflix and seen Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities series? He's done a series of super creepy urban and folktale stories brought into the present day. And in a presentation almost like a cross between Hitchcock and Twilight Zone, where the theme is this cabinet of curiosity. So you open little doors, you open little drawers, and that's where the story resides. I think it's absolutely fascinating. Very similar idea and very cool. All right, I want to see just one more, and then we're going to wind up for today. Now, this is one of my very favorite 3D artists. This person chose one of my favorites to do this with. Let's see how long it is. Okay, good. It's a perfect time frame. And I think after this, then we'll go ahead and stop and open the floor for questions or observations. Now, when you see this, you may recall that his work was featured prominently in a fine example of American cinematography, Get Smart. All right, you ready?
My name is Jackson Eporti, and this is my artist research PowerPoint presentation. For the first artist I chose and artwork, I guess, was Frank Gehry, and the one in the picture you can see here is the Guggenheim Bilbao, Spain Museum. It was built out of titanium, glass, and limestone. Took a while to build, as far as I'm aware. It was made with titanium, and when the sun is fully out, it shines off the building and fully illuminates it. Top left here, we have the Walt Disney Concert Hall, which is built in Los Angeles. Bottom left, we have the Weissman Art Museum, which is located in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the far right, we have the Dancing House, Czech Republic. The next artist I chose, Barbara Hepworth. The specific piece you can see here in this picture.
Okay, I'm thinking, I really like this, but this is not what the assignment is. It's focusing on one artist. I think that it is really interesting though. And my inclination is, I'll have you guys watch this on your own, but my inclination is not to have the student redo it because it looks like they did put some good work into it, but that's not what the assignment is. So I don't know what to do. What do you guys think? I don't think I want to have them redo it. I think it'll be just fine, but the PowerPoint presentation should be on the one artist that you've picked, that you've done your everything else on. And does everybody understand that? All four of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
think that's fair. Like, as long as he put in, as long as they put in plenty of work, like it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd agree
Okay,
with
good.
that.
I don't, if anybody sees this before doing theirs, please make sure that it's on the artist, the one artist that you picked. So if that's good. Okay, well, if you guys agree, then that's great. We will move on. One of the things about Frank
Hello,
Gehry is that I think is really pretty cool is his things look so organic and moving, not because he's modeling them after living things, but because in his mind, the folds of heavy textiles remind him of blankets, and that's a symbol for warmth and caring and safety, emotional safety. And so that's why his buildings are like that. And I think that is really very cool. And that the Walt Disney Opera House, that was the movie that was the building that was on display for the main penultimate triumph of Agent Smart in the movie. So, just so, anybody who wants an A, go back and watch that movie again.
That's right. I remember that now.
Such a good movie. I grew up watching that one.
Yeah. Steve Carroll, Dwayne Johnson,
Ben
Terrence
Hathaway.
Stamp. You cannot, yeah, you cannot. And that one guy from The Godfather. I mean, you can't get any better.
Would you believe Chuck Norris with a BB gun?
Yeah. Chuck Norris actually told a Chuck Norris joke. He said that he was visiting a friend of his who raised wild cats and like, tigers, lions, that kind of thing. And he said, and the guy said, yeah, come on into the cage and you can pet this tiger. It's a Bengal tiger. It's one of the few in captivity. And so Chuck Norris did, okay, he said, okay, that's great. And so he went in and was petting this cat, and the cat started, there was a low rumble in his chest, and it just started with a really soft growling. And so Chuck Norris froze, and the guy said, okay, listen to me very carefully. Move very slowly, back away, and you will not get hurt. And Chuck Norris said, and that's exactly what the tiger did.
My aunt used to have a whole poster of little Chuck Norris things, like Chuck Norris built the log cabin he was born in.
Yeah, exactly. I love, Superman and Chuck Norris had a bet as to who was tougher, and the loser had to wear his underwear outside his pants. Yeah, I love growing up in this country. Okay,
Yeah.
so here's the next one. This guy is another one of my favorite artists, Isamu Noguchi. All right.
Everyone, I'm super excited today to be able to present about Isamu Noguchi. He is an amazing sculptor, one of the most influential within the past century. He's a remarkable artist whose work has left a long-lasting mark on the art world. We won't be just talking about his biography today, but we'll be instead focusing on what sets Noguchi apart as an artist and why his work is so engaging and influential. By the end of this presentation, I hope you'll understand just what makes his art truly exceptional and be inspired to explore more of his art. So let's go ahead and get started. Here on the left and on the right is Isamu in different stages of his life. Isamu Noguchi's journey begins with his early life and background. He was born on November 17th, 1904 in Los Angeles, California, to an American mother and a Japanese father. Even though he was born in the United States, he spent his early life living in Japan, where he was given the name Isamu, which means courage. This multicultural background had a significant impact on his art, as it allowed him to bridge different cultural influences. And we'll see that in play in the majority of his artworks as we discuss them later today. Noguchi's sculptural style is truly unique. He was greatly influenced by his mentor, Konstantin Brâncuși, who is a renowned Romanian sculptor, and that mentorship played a pivotal role in shaping his artistic direction. His early work showcased elements of abstraction and surrealism, but he later developed his own distinctive style that blended modernism with Japanese aesthetics. His works often had a profound connection to nature, an element that's beautifully engaging. And we'll see that especially in play in this next work here, which is The Sunken Garden. Nature is a recurring theme of Noguchi's art. His pieces often evoke a sense of natural harmony, making them deeply engaging. One of his works, this work, The Sunken Garden, is a prime example of how he incorporated natural elements and simplicity into his sculptures. This work was installed in a New York City bank plaza. His work challenges us to see the beauty and elegance in natural forms, encouraging us to look at the world differently. Here we can see his inspiration from the Japanese Zen garden. This is an interesting contrast from the traditional hustle and bustle of a New York City bank plaza, and where people can come and receive that kind of calm and tranquility. And this work of art and sculpture even included a water feature. And you can see here on the left that the bricks are laid out to give the appearance of sand. So this closely resembles the Japanese Zen garden. This is another work of public art, and Noguchi's contributions to public art and landscape design are truly remarkable. He was one of the pioneers in the integration of sculpture into public spaces. He believed that art should be accessible to everyone, and his vision resulted in iconic works like the previous work, the Sunken Garden, and this red cube in New York. These public installations are not just sculptures, they are engaging experiences that interact with their surroundings, inviting people to connect with art on a profound level. This is another work of public art. This was found in the White House garden, and this is called the floor frame sculpture. It invites viewers to explore the interplay between the sculpture and the space it occupies. The dynamic relationships between positive and negative space in this work challenge our perceptions and create an engaging visual experience. These sculptures encourage us to ponder the balance and harmony between structure and emptiness, exemplifying Noguchi's thought-provoking approach to art. And this is a very interesting piece and interesting to think upon as to what was the purpose of him creating this artwork. Now, this is one that probably everyone will be familiar with and probably will never have realized that this is attributed to Noguchi. This is called the Akari light sculptures. And Noguchi's creative genius extended beyond just traditional sculpture. He also left a big mark in the realm of interior design, notably through these iconic Akari light sculptures. Akari means light in Japanese and represents a fusion of traditional craftsmanship and a modern design. Noguchi designed these elegant and organic light sculptures in the 1950s. They consist of paper or silk shades supported by bamboo or metal frames. The soft diffused light emitted by Akari sculptures creates a tranquil and inviting atmosphere, making them a centerpiece in contemporary interior design. Apart from the Akari light sculptures, which I'm sure we've all, is also notable for other sculptural creations that extended into furniture and interior design. His furniture design, such as this iconic Noguchi coffee table, epitomizes his ability to blend form and function, creating engaging and functional pieces. These interior design sculptures seamlessly integrate with modern interiors, offering both aesthetic beauty and practicality. And Noguchi was one of the first people, well, perhaps not the first, but he was an early sculptor in the interior design realm that gave way to functional yet also beautiful works that enhance the space which they were placed. And this is just a little bit on Isamu Noguchi and his life, as well as some of his sculptures, mainly his desire for art to be accessible to everyone in a public space, his connection with Japanese and American culture, as well as his influence in the interior design realm. I hope you have all enjoyed this presentation on Isamu Noguchi. He is a very interesting artist, and I invite you all to explore more. He has a great website, as he has now passed away, but he has a great website from the museum that honors his life and his works of art, where you can explore more. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great day.
One thing that I think is pretty cool is you look at this. When he started off, he did stuff that was very realistic, very naturalistic. And then you look at the stuff he's credited with designing at the end of his life, and it was it's very contemporary, very modern, and very abstract. What I like about that is it kind of shows that these guys, these artists that we look at that are really good, if they explore multiple media, they become really good in whatever the media is that they're working in. Have you guys seen Back to the Future 3?
Yeah.
When McFly is in the county, the town square for the community picnic kind of thing, there's a group of 3 guys with big beards that are playing banjos and mandolins. Do you know who that is? It's ZZ Top.
Really?
Yeah, and then you hear like I don't know if you guys have ever heard it, but well, like you've probably seen Dustin Hoffman do comedy, and he has all these Academy Awards as a dramatic actor, and he does comedy that is absolutely makes you want to pee your pants. And there's a lot of other people that we can look at like that are really great artists, and then when they get switched to a different medium, they're really great in that too. And I think it's not because they're born with these natural capacities so much, but their minds are such that they will focus on something knowing what makes it worthwhile, and that's the element that they work on and get better at. So we don't see all the painful process in between, we just see the high points. But when somebody like Paul McCartney decides that he's going to one day wake up and compose a symphony, it's going to be a good symphony, which it is. And it's a very postmodern, contemporary symphony, but it's really well done, because that's the kind of thing that these artists will do. And it's, I know, I think that's really cool. If you go on campus and look at the different art teachers, for example, the ones that you whose work you're really responding to, look at other stuff they've done in other media, because you'll realize, wow, they're good in that too. And it just, I don't know, it's sometimes it's a little bit irritating to see some of these people. But yeah, these have been really great. Okay, I think that's about all that we want to do for tonight. Do you guys have any last questions before we go on, or before we end the meeting today?
About the assignments that were due on Monday. So I'm not actually done with either of them. So it's the service learning and the other one. Should I turn just
I think as long as you guys get everything in, I would try to get everything done by this weekend if you possibly can.
Yeah, that's my plan. I'm gonna spend all of
Okay, and
Friday and Saturday.
then that'll give you time. If you need to fix stuff, you can tweak it. But I'm going to have everything graded in the next day or two, and if it doesn't get turned in until this weekend, big deal.
Okay.
Okay, so don't even worry about that.
Because
and even,
I just wondered if I should have like some sort of placeholder in there, because my other teacher is pretty good about that same thing, and he just likes it if you turn something in, even if it's not your final.
Well, if you want to, just write me a note and say, hey, I'm almost done with this. I just need a couple more days. That's fine.
All right.
If it stresses you out. And the reason I try to be flexible is, again, this is an online class. And if you guys were normal people with normal jobs and normal lives, you'd be taking a class in the school. But you're not. You have real lives. So, which, I'm not intending to say anything detrimental to the people that are taking the regular classes, but you take an online class because you require that flexibility. And I don't mind being flexible as well. As long as everybody has a good attitude and we're patient, then that's good.
I was describing how you do this class to my dad and my uncles, and they're all engineers. So they were like, if you turn something in late, you just didn't turn it in. You got a 0. I was yes.
For assignments with one answer, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, about 30 years ago, I was training as an engineer. That's what I wanted to be when I got out of high school, and that's what I started as. And that's very descriptive.
Yeah. I got all
really
the way
good.
through Calc 3, so I at least knew some of it. But
well, as human beings living in a mechanical world, it is sometimes you need flexibility that the world or the manufactured world doesn't seem to provide. And I think as artists, if we can be a bit more forgiving and flexible, then that works out to everybody's benefit.
Nice.
But don't quote me on that. I don't want to get any of the other teachers in trouble. All right. Well, I
So
hope you guys
I have a
have.
question.
What's that?
Sorry,
Rich.
I'm working on the texture and color for the Voltron sculpture. I didn't see anywhere. I saw that it's stricter on the time schedule grading, I guess, but I didn't see, and maybe I overlooked how long of a minimum we're looking at, or at least like a general time frame that is expected for it.
Well, on this, you don't have the same kind of point spread as you have on some of the other exercises. But what I'm noticing is there seems to be two extremes. One extreme is somebody will do something that didn't take very long, or it doesn't look like it took very long. And then the other extreme is somebody put a lot of energy into it. And the difference is generally the people that spend an hour or an hour and a half on it are not getting very good grades. And the people that put in 6 or 7 hours are getting good grades. So I would say 6 to 10 hours is what you want to do, because this is the thing that I want you to spend the most time on. And some good examples would be taking your sculpture, painting it with one of the color schemes that you explored that you really like, and then applying texture on it so that only a little bit of the paint shows through. Or applying the whole thing, applying texture on the whole thing, and then painting it with the color scheme so that the texture is part of it as well. What is not good is I've had classes before where somebody will have their sculpture and they'll take 3 silk flowers and put it on, and then put a couple of pins over here, and then glue some macaroni noodles on this other side there and call it good. And that really is not doing much. I have also had somebody who just draped a bunch of masking tape over their sculpture and called that good. So, well, no, that doesn't work. You remember those stick Indians that Jason did for the colorful cocoon slash wrapping object thing exercise? On those, each of those, he spent a number of hours so that the texture encapsulated the entire thing. Like one of them, he used, the texture was a cross between the shredded paper for packing and zip ties. He selected the shredded paper and the zip ties for their color so that they really spoke with each other. It was a really solid color scheme. And then he spent a lot of time draping that shredded paper over it and zip tying it into place, and used enough zip ties that felt like its own texture as well. And that's the kind of thing. So if I see something where the person has an excellent idea and I just want them to spend more time on it, that's what I've been suggesting to people. Go back, look at that, and just spend a little bit more time on it. Sometimes the wrapping thing, you have an excellent idea, but you don't have a lot of experience wrapping things, so you don't know, how it works. You don't know where it's at. And in that case, what I'll suggest is just wrap more. Just keep doing it. Do it and do it and do it until you've wrapped so much that you can barely recognize or just see little bits and bobs of the original thing. One person wrapped a doll so thoroughly you cannot recognize what it is. The only way you know what it is because they put the hat back on. And that's an excellent solution. You have the little fingertips and a bit of hair poking out, but the rest of it, you can't even identify the shape. And that's the best kind of thing to do. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Focus more
Okay.
on the effort, and yeah, I wasn't sure if there was like a minimum hour requirement. Just wanted to double check. I'm still halfway through doing what I'm doing right now, and then probably go a little bit longer than that. But yeah, I just thought I'd check.
Yeah, I would recommend, if you think you're done before 6 hours is up, put another couple hours in. And when you're done, look at it and do more. Even if you know you're done, look at it and do more. And I guarantee that will be better. You look at one of the reasons why Chihuly is famous and so well recognized is he doesn't stop with 1 or 2 gourds for a chandelier. He puts hundreds and hundreds on them. You look at the ceiling in the Bellagio, it's not just a couple plates, it's over 1,000 plates that he's put up. Or the roof of the bridge at the Tacoma Glass Museum. Again, it's not just a couple, it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. So I'm not telling you to spend 20 hours, don't do that. But if you think you're done after 15 minutes, you're not.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Personally, I'm going to stab mine with these little things. They're scraps from my other project.
Oh, that'd be
Plexiglass
nice. I would do
acrylic sheets. Yeah,
do so many of them on there. Oh yeah, that's great. Do bunches and bunches and bunches of them.
Yep, and I'm gonna put some of these
great.
little flower nets on there too.
All right, and I would just, and once you're, like I said, very seriously, once you're done, step away from it for a bit, take a break, go back and do more. And I guarantee that it will be better.
That's usually what I need. Yeah. So stop and pretend like I'm done.
Yeah, then come back to it. And
yeah.
that's what I've been telling. If I'm not giving people full points, that's what I'm suggesting that they do. Add more, do more, add more color, add more texture, get a more dramatic angle for the photo. You know, don't decide that it's a front and a back. Decide that the front is actually an edge or a corner, and take a photo like that. And that's going to make it better as well. Don't lay it down to take a photo. Prop it up on a corner so it's off balance, and use that. But if you have a problem taking a photo because you don't have access to the on-campus photo lab, a really good way to do a super low cost, no cost infinity wall. An infinity wall is when you have a platform that blends into the background so you don't really see any sharp edges. A really good way to do that is to take a sheet. You can use white if you want. I prefer light gray with no texture on the sheet. Fold it in half and iron it. And then put that, like tape one edge of it to the leading edge of a table. And then tie the other end to a curtain rod up above so that you have a spot that lays against the table for the first foot or two. And then it curves up, you know, from the side. So it goes like this flat, and then it curves up to where it hangs on the curtain rod. That'll give you that curve and the neutral background to give you that infinity wall effect. And it just has to be big enough so when you zoom in with your camera, you don't see the edges and the cat sitting on the counter or whatever like that. You know, and if you can't do that with your camera, after you're done taking the picture, crop it in one of the photo programs. Right? Does that help?
Like Photoshop is acceptable? A new background?
I would say Photoshop is good for cropping, but I would try really hard not to do anything else with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you know, don't design your sculpture. I had a couple students that said, "Oh yeah, I can do this, no problem," because I'm a game designer, and they were doing everything digitally, and that's not how it works. So, so Photoshop is really good. You know, if your camera, if everything is a little bit on the warm side, then you can use a filter to change that. But I would recommend trying not to cut out the background unless you can do it in such a way so that your sculpture itself is left pristine. If you can do that, then it'll be fine.
I have done that actually.
Okay, because I want you to showcase your work instead of the computers.
But yeah, I usually take two posters and I put them like that, and then I just Photoshop out the line in the back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a really good idea. That would work too, because again, your sculpture is front and center, and you're not manipulating that, and that's a great solution. All right. Well, if that is everything, I really appreciate you guys. We will meet again next Tuesday, and then what is going to happen on the first day of finals is I will release your final assignment. And it is a couple questions. They're essay questions that ask you to describe your experiences during the term. They are not test questions. Okay, so you are tested on your experience rather than your knowledge that we gained during the course. All right, and that will release those Monday, and you will have until Friday midnight on December 15th to turn those in. And if anybody is feeling really sweaty and nervous and shaky and everything like that, this class is designed to help you and not to ruin your life. And so if you're having issues with stress or anything like that, and you don't think you can get this done, talk to me and communicate with the Office of Accommodations on campus. And they are usually really good at helping you. Sometimes people have taken one of these classes because they have a pretty full schedule and they feel they need to squeeze another one in, and it just becomes too stressful. Working with the Office of Accommodation, talking to your teachers, you can usually come up with a solution that helps everybody. Or we can usually arrive at a solution that helps everybody. So I don't want everybody to stress out too much. A little bit of stress is fine, too much is awful.
Mhm.
All right, folks, you guys take it easy, and I will see you next Tuesday. And I
Tuesday or
believe that
Wednesday?
is, today's Wednesday, isn't it?
Mhm.
Next Wednesday. And that will put us, what is that, December 6th?
Think so.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right, Dick. All right, well, I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will look forward to talking to you next Wednesday.
See ya.
All right,
All right.
thanks.
See ya.
We'll see you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.